Okay. I call this planning and zoning work session to order, and the time is 6 o'clock. And we'll go ahead and start with staff comments.
Thank you, Presiding Officer Hornseth. I have no staff comments outside the overview Courtney will provide for the discussion items.
All right, and so we have 3 discussion items tonight. The ordinance draft amending the parking code, the municipal lands inventory management plan updates from 2025, and the municipal lands inventory management plan. And so we can just go ahead and jump right into the ordinance draft, I believe.
All right. So the commission has had 3 work sessions throughout this year to discuss amendments to the parking code. The commission has discussed all sorts of amendments ranging from completely eliminating the parking code requirements to just minor edits, and this ordinance draft before you is the culmination of what the commission has discussed during those work sessions and kind of came to a general consensus too. So at this point, we're not really looking for like major changes to this draft. We just wanted to give the commission a chance to look over, provide any other minor pieces of feedback or comments that they have before it comes to you in a meeting. So I can walk you through some of these changes. Hopefully most of them are pretty familiar since they are ones that we've discussed during our work sessions, but this is found on page 5 of the packet. And this is the entire portion of the parking code within the Seward City Code. So the first changes will come on page 6. We're changing, there's some minor, housekeeping editorial stuff with the titles in some of these land uses, which you can see. I won't walk through those specifically, but I'll go through some of the changes to the number of parking spaces that are required. So for multiple family dwellings, condominiums, and apartments in a mixed-use building, we are proposing to change that from 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit plus 1 half space for every unit larger than 2 bedrooms to just 1 parking space per dwelling unit. Then the next change would be hotels and motels, and this would be changing from 1 space to 1 half space per guest unit. Lodging, rooming, and boarding houses would just be changing the language around what the space, the required parking space is for. So instead of 1 space per guest room, it would just focus on rental unit. So and rental unit being what is being advertised to be rented out. So 1 parking space per each advertised rental unit. The next edits come on page 7. Eating and drinking, office, medical, or dental was previously 2 spaces per treatment room, and we're changing that to 1 space per treatment room and 1 for each employee on duty. And then next would be eating and drinking establishment. It had some extra language in there for square foot of the building, but we're simplifying it to 1 parking space for each 4 seats in the restaurant. And then bowling alley had 4 parking spaces for each alley, and we're changing that to proposing to change it to 1 parking space for each alley. And then if you remember, this is probably back in the spring, when we first kind of discussed this table, there was some conversation about where auto repair businesses would fit, and so we're striking the motor vehicle sales and service establishment from our code and then combining auto repair and service station into 1 use there, and then the required parking for that would be 1 parking space for each 2 gas pumps and or 2 spaces for each grease rack. So those are the only changes to the minimum parking requirements. Are there any questions or comments on that portion?
Yeah. Thank you. I knew I read it in here somewhere, and I thought it was in the table, but wasn't there something on the case of a hotel, and if they had other activities, like they could do in a restaurant or a
Later down.
conference center? Is that where it's
Yeah,
at?
it's a couple pages down.
Okay.
Yep, yeah, we
We'll
will
get there?
get to that, yeah.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure. It was that.
Way back.
Well, thank you for setting me straight, that's okay. I need a second head up here.
All right, are we good to move forward then to the other parts? All right, so the next changes would be at the bottom of page 8. So this portion of code, letter E, pertains to the parking agreements that we allow in our code, where if a business can't provide the required parking on site, then we allow for a parking agreement, and then numbers 1 and 2 kind of specify the requirements of those parking agreements. So we're adding in number 2 that the parking needs to be located within city limits. So they can have a parking agreement with any parcel of land to provide the required parking, but it needs to be inside city limits. And then if you move to page 9, the next major edit would be letter I. So this is under dual use of lots. So if 2 or more buildings are sharing a parking lot, the previous code said that the parking spaces provided would not be less than the sum of the required parking for each of those uses. So we're changing it to 75% of the sum of each of those required uses. If that makes sense. And then in the instance of a dual function of 2 businesses using the same parking lot where their hours of operation don't overlap, then we're adding in this portion of code where administration, previously it was the Planning and Zoning Commission, could change it, but administration may reduce the required parking to the greatest amount of parking required by one of the principal uses. So that would be when 2 uses are using the same parking lot, but one may use it during the day and one may use it in the evening. That administration now would have the authority to be able to reduce their required parking.
In that instance, if the 2 businesses sharing one lot, if one is larger than the other, which business do you refer to with the greatest amount of parking required by one particular use?
Yeah,
It's a combination of both.
I'm not
Is it?
quite sure if I'm entirely understanding, but it would be whichever business requires the most parking. Yeah.
Like you have one that requires, trying to do some simple math here. If you have one that requires 10 spaces, you have another that requires 20 spaces, that's 30 spaces altogether, so 75% of that is 15 plus another 7, 15, 22 spaces
Yeah, and so,
versus 30 spaces,
right.
right? Yeah.
And so that would be an instance if both of the businesses operated at the same time, so had daytime operations. So if the businesses had different hours of operation, then we could
If
reduce
they're
it to.
different, and one had 20 and one had 10, it would just be 20, would be the requirement.
That doesn't make sense if it says
75%.
75% of the greatest.
Well, 75% is again pertaining to 2 uses that are using the parking lot at the same time, separate from the second part of that code, which is if, again, it's a use that's using morning parking, basically the hours of operation don't overlap, so we wouldn't have to worry about adding a parking requirement.
Okay. And then letter K is just rephrasing this reduction of spaces. The previous wording was very confusing. We had to even seek some attorney help on deciphering that. And so what we've put in here is kind of rewording it with what the attorney gave back as what he interpreted to be, so just to make it sound clear. So an applicant may apply to reduce or relinquish parking requirements only under the following conditions: if the previously approved requirements are greater than what is currently required, or if the current land use was changed to a lower parking requirement. So basically, if code changes and lowers the parking requirements, or if the land use changes to a different land use, you can reduce your parking requirements, which both of those should make a lot of sense, hopefully. All right, and then on page 10, we've updated letter P to include the new terminology that that the commission approved at the September 2nd meeting for mixed-use development. So instead of group use of lots, for mixed-use development, these would be the requirements, the parking requirements for mixed use. And then number 2, Rhonda shows what you were asking for hotels. So where a hotel or motel has other principal uses, such as restaurants, bar, meeting rooms, the principal use requiring the greatest amount of parking shall provide 100% of the required parking spaces. So likely, in a scenario where a hotel has these other uses, it would be just the required hotel parking spaces. And that is essentially all the edits and proposed amendments to the parking code. Any questions or other input on this?
Well, I don't agree with them all, but
Leave it
that's what we've kind of, the synthesis has gone with, so I'll go with it for the moment.
Is there some conditions or considerations we can, you have all this, I keep thinking of all this extra parking that we have provided by the city. Is there any way that we can give a concession to a business, each business gets a parking spot that's provided by the city, on city property, that gets to be a credit to their parking space? Is there a way we can put something like that in there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure what procedures we would have to do for that, but we could look into what that might require, but.
Give me an example.
Yeah.
How many businesses do we have down here on Main Street? So if each one of those businesses was granted one parking spot, that would qualify against their parking requirements.
Where would that parking spot be? Because
It'd be right on whatever Main Street parking we have. We have tons of parking out there. So they can park here or there or whatever, but that's gonna be a credit.
But on-street parking is for everyone. So are you talking, so,
We're not gonna reserve
yeah,
parking for.
Oh, you'd be surprised. When we get rid of parking rules, you can reserve, you can do all kinds of things.
on-street parking is for the general masses, the tourists, you and me, the whatever. It's not,
Do you realize how many business owners park down there?
yeah, what I'm getting at is separating the two of public parking versus city pay parking. Were you raising
It
your hand?
could,
Yeah.
there's no paid parking, but it could become paid parking.
No, what I'm trying to say is there's
private.
city pay parking, like down in the harbor, and then there's just general parking for the public. I was trying to separate those two and say, are you speaking of just street parking, or are you speaking of city pay parking that's down in the harbor? Because if you're gonna give credits, people aren't gonna park in the harbor when they work down here. You see what I mean? There's two different things. And see, the city has paid parking, where they own the parking and people pay to park in it. And then there's parking that's in the city, but nobody pays because it's public parking. So I don't want to give public parking away, because that's for the public.
It would be like if Parks and Rec gave up one of their mini campgrounds over here and had that be like employee parking, similar to how they used to do a permit lot down in the harbor, which I think they might go to in the future. But this is almost kind of a moot point, because would be almost more beneficial in a congested area if we're trying to get turnover. But to credit a business parking in the congested area is central business, which already is exempt from parking. So there'd really be no parking to credit, since they already are.
There is when a conditional use permit is. When you go back to the conditional use permit, then you do have that, and which is what we're looking at right here, right? So that's what I'm saying. If a hotel owner is required to have 20 spaces,
Well,
can one or two of those 20 spaces be fulfilled here.
Well, a condition of parking in the central business district is not a requirement. That is a decision the commission, or a condition the commission puts on. So that would be more of a case-by-case scenario versus something that you would codify with a credit.
Because you have already down at the harbor, don't you have permits that people can get that are in businesses, right? Or that have businesses down there and they can get,
Correct.
yeah.
They get a
That's 'cause
cheaper
it's-
pass for a harbor employee.
Yeah, or you could do some modified version of that.
And that would make sense if downtown went to paid parking, because that's why they do it down there.
Yes.
Because it's all paid parking, where we
So-
don't have paid parking down here. So if the city ended up going to a paradigm where we're gonna do paid parking on 4th Street, then yeah, there should be some sort of permit employee system figured out, but
But we might not have a parking problem at that point because a few businesses may shut down because we're not gonna get the acreage and people that come over from Kenai and stuff to come over and shop and put tax dollars for the city when they're shopping, and when they're eating out, and when they're spending the night. That's a concern of a lot of business owners right now,
Is what,
is that with paid parking, it's gonna hurt the people, not the cruise ship people, not the people that come down on a train, but people who drive over from the other side.
so you
of
don't
the
think
peninsula.
anybody will come here if they have to pay for
I
parking?
think there's gonna be less. And I've talked to a few, like I have people
Okay,
in
and-
Homer, but, because our tax dollars, I mean, how much do we pay? I try to shop local in order to support the city of Stewart, even though it's cheaper in Anchorage.
I think we're getting off the rails with paid
Oh.
parking. Let's try to just stay focused here. That's its own discussion, and yeah, like, there's a lot of issues there, but I think, let's just stick to this for right now.
So with these recommended amendments, does the commission have any additional input or even points that you want to bring up for discussion that you may, Commissioner Sharma mentioned, and then exactly agree with some of the things in here that we've merit a little bit more discussion?
I mean, I think I'm the only one out that, there's a few things I would like. I think it's a little too strict. We're knocking it back a little too much. I'd like to, instead of doing 50%, do 75%, but I don't think anybody agrees with me, so I don't know if we need to have a huge discussion about it.
Oh, for the hotels?
Yeah, we can talk about that. Anybody have a comment on the way down?
I don't know, what do you wanna do with the laydown? Do you wanna work through it, or, it adheres to a bunch of this and then adds
Right.
some additional, so.
You know, I'm gonna give you, yeah.
For the
administration's
parts
honest.
of the laydown that are more administrative, which is more housekeeping or changing phrases, like, I would suggest let us work through that and we'll figure out the best way, because some of that stuff doesn't really change the code, it just changes how it's worded, and I go back and forth. Some of it made sense, some of it's like, the more you change something, the harder it is to get it approved, so. But if there's content of the chair's laydown that you'd like to review, feel free.
Well, in the community facilities, I would stick with one space per 1,000 square feet. I wouldn't agree with that. That's on page 3.
So we can kind of just maybe do it like administration mentioned, where we adhere to all the housekeeping, and then the larger changes, we can just let the chair who put this forward address it when it comes to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Because there's no input from the laydown presenter, so it's gonna be hard to really discuss it. But there are some really good housekeepings that would be nice to keep, so maybe we keep those and leave the rest to further discussion.
Yeah, and if I may, like, yeah, I think some of that stuff just needs to be reconciled too with, I mean, the language that was introduced by administration to call out multiple uses is then conflicts with some of the stuff in the laydown. And so, yeah, it's just, it feels like it needs some work to, like, make the
Some
two
more sniffing and
coherent.
stuff?
I do think the bicycle parking might be worth a small discussion, since that hasn't been in our code before, and I think that could be a really nice addition. Maybe this is the right place for it. I could be wrong as well, but I kind of liked a lot of what the chair had presented in this laydown of kind of encouraging. I do think we already have a lot of commuters on bikes and scooters, and that we will continue going that route. So to encourage new buildings and workplaces to install, bike racks and have parking facilities for those users.
Yeah, does the city have, like Parks and Rec, do they have a, I don't know, do they adhere to some sort of formula when it comes to bike racks in parks and recreational areas? That's something
I haven't seen it in any
like
of our
they
code
take care
stuff.
of? Like, do we need to tell them they need to have bike racks, or do they just say?
Yeah, I would say, I'm unsure on that. I feel like that would be more their lane than our lane,
Yeah.
though. And I'm all for increasing biking. When I see community development director may require bicycle parking, that's very subjective, and I don't want that subjective authority. And so, if there's a way to, I don't think encouragement should be code. Like, that's not
Right.
the purpose of code.
Yeah, it's either,
So,
either
if
is it
there's
or
a
not.
way to include this in code in a different way, I would support the commission going
Shall
down.
be encouraged.
And then we can have a whole work session on bicycle, part of code, but, I would not want that authority.
I mean, I agree, bicycles are important, but maybe having a discussion with Parks and Rec about it, or something like that.
It's something for us to consider in some of our CUPs that come across for new
Yeah.
buildings,
That's true.
to be on our radar as well, because I do think that is positive for us.
Yeah.
But fair.
All right, anything else on parking then?
Sweet. So I think our plan is, so Rob, our attorney we usually work with, is out for a couple weeks, so this is kind of a bigger one. We want to get his eyes on this last version, and so then we will, once we get that, bring it up for a vote at a meeting, which will be probably October or November, one of those two, so.
So what about these ones where she's asking for more parking per area or dwelling or whatever that we,
Well, we just adhere to the housekeeping, and then those would have to come up as a motion or in the actual next meeting
Yeah.
Make a motion to
adjust it.
discuss it.
I see we have public here. Do you have any comment? You can chime in anytime you want.
I'm sorry, I forgot my hearing aids.
Okay, well, hopefully you can hear us. But I was just saying, if you have any comments, we're welcome to chime in.
Comment
Yes,
about parking?
just sure.
I have a lot of experience in parking.
can you tell us who he is?
It's a work session.
It's a work session, so, yeah.
Yeah,
Is it the right time?
Yeah, just tell us who you
It's-
are.
I apologize for not hearing aids. I was in a rush to get here by 6 o'clock. My name is Randy McFarland, out of city limits, Bear Lake. I started the parking for the city back in '96. It took me 5 years to convince 4 people on the council that it was a good idea. Your mother, I've had many conversations about parking with your mother. I also started, or I didn't start, I provided the equipment for the Lutheran Church to start pay parking. I think you still have the original sign I gave you 30 years ago. I think you're underestimating the parking. I think you should probably look at each. Downtown, I think, is almost impossible to solve with the tools that you have now. Almost impossible. The main problem with parking, as I see, is that there's misuse of pronouns, possessive pronouns. Everybody gets confused with mine and the city's, or mine and yours. And people just naturally assume the spot in front of their house is my parking spot. It's just the way parking is. I think you should have, I know it's not, probably not your department, but in the zoning and the parking, there probably should be two separate things. Seasonal parking and year-round parking, okay? I don't know if there's a problem downtown right now, but it's at close to capacity. But if you go down to the harbor, basically every lot is empty. And I think your job really is to identify what the parking needs will be in a few decades out, which is not easy to do. I think you should zone that little power line where the power lines go up from the highway to the power plant, the generator. That should be designated for parking. They don't want to put housing there. The city already pays for a shuttle. You have to move the employees first. There needs to be a hierarchy of the citizens of Seward come first, the city of Seward comes second, boat owners come third, business owners are fourth, employees are last. And again, you have to differentiate between seasonal employees and year-round employees. I think if you presented something to the council that's not more refined and more focused on some, one particular area or residential, or when I listened to the last meeting, you sort of, from my understanding, you wanted to clump all the commercial parking in together and treat it all the same, this and that, and boy, oh boy, it's a big job. Otherwise, you say you haven't had too many people commenting here. When it gets in front of the council, they're going to have to backtrack on some of the stuff that's going to come out of here. I think you need to spend more time to slow down. I know they asked Daniel a question about some statistics. I believe Parks and Rec has all those. Like how many employees there are. I don't know, I could go on forever, but I know I only got a couple of minutes, so. One more thing?
Yeah.
You all have laptops, and I've asked, I started off with the council with this, and I went to Public Works Director, I've been to Community Development, I'm sorry, I spaced it out there. And if you go to Google Street View, on your computers there, go to 1300 4th Avenue, look west, and you'll see what kind of parking problems you have. You have people parking I believe they're parking on the sidewalk. Nobody else does. And if you move that forward to say stand right between the two restroom doors, you can move, where you're at, what the view is, and then walk across that street and see what happens. It goes from miraculously, you see a red pickup truck. To me, it's obvious as day that it's parking on the sidewalk. But as you walk across that, if there was a sidewalk there, if you walk across the sidewalk, for some reason the view changes to a man and his young child walking in the street. Anyway, I know I've used up my time, and thank you for your time. I know this is the most detailed the city has got into parking since I've lived here. And you're to be congratulated for that. But I still think you might be underestimating the people that want to participate. I don't know if every business license has got a notice. Certainly you have their emails and stuff. I don't know, and I don't mean to ramble on, but I can about parking and bike paths. So.
I have a question for the thing. You mentioned a piece of property where people could park. Where was that you were talking about?
I'm talking on Seward Highway. They're putting some new power lines, or increase it so they could have more power. It runs basically from the highway up to Fort Raymond Generating Station. They've already talked about it's not an ideal place to put housing because nobody wants to live under a power.
Oh, I see.
So I think you should
You were suggesting use that as another
identify
parking lot?
that as
Is that what you're suggesting?
employee parking for the harbor. Okay? It's not the city's job to provide parking for somebody's employees. That's not our job. Okay? Sure, it'd be nice. I can tell you right now, the parking spots in the harbor are, like, say, the center lot. Those spots are worth to the city at least $1,675 apiece every year. There's 200 there, okay? It cost, last trade magazine I read, it cost $28,000 to build a parking spot and meet all the required, landscaping, driveways, whatever, paving. The city has about 1,200 parking spaces. That turns it into about a $38 million venture. And if you think that $28 is crazy, $28,000 is crazy, I'd like to see it done. And you might reach out to Mr. Toombs because he recently did what you're talking about, created parking for a hotel. Right? He took down the train station, the train wreck, removed all the debris, paved it over. But that wasn't just that, he had to put in the sewer line, he had to put in drains, he had to, he had to have the curbs done. He's got to pay a lease on it for 30 years, and he only got like 31 spots out of it. So parking spaces aren't cheap. We're a small town to be putting the parking for a few 100,000 people in the summer. I can tell you right now, last year, the paid parking, I believe, had 43,000 paying customers. And there was a question to Dan about how many employees are there. Well, the Parks and Rec has that information because they have employee passes. The employees have got to, I'm not saying that they're dead weight, not to be disrespectful or anything, but in theory, one person could have enough employees down there to take up all the parking. Okay? Kenai Fjord's lot, if it's still Kenai Fjord's, that's a pretty big lot, it's a pretty big investment. They have their own shuttle bus that they park on the sidewalk, and then in a fire lane to do that is not right. So again, if you go down to the harbor and you can look around, you don't have to leave your chair, you don't have to go get wet. And start off at 1300 4th Avenue and look west. And you'll see signs that are on public property directing how, signs on private property or leased property that direct how parking should go on the street. You see what I'm saying? If you look at this picture, you'll see that along South Harbor, there are numerous signs that say 30-minute customer parking only. Well, they're parking on the sidewalk, number one. Number two, it's not their choice. Again, we come back to the possessive pronouns. They're using the wrong one. It's not theirs, it's ours. And it should be managed as ours. I'm talking the public parking there. I can't say enough that, they say that a picture says 1,000 words. I've turned it into the picture. They've seen the picture, yes? And I don't want to criticize anybody. That's not what I'm here for. But after 2 years of trying to figure out if those people are parking on the sidewalk, I still don't have an answer. 2 years. Anyway, that's what I really appreciate you looking into parking. It's not a problem, it's an opportunity. And I heard that you only had 3 comments. When it gets to council, you'll have a lot more than 3 comments. There's no need to rush through this. Nothing's going to happen in the wintertime anyway. But I don't think the outreach to stakeholders has been sufficient. Like downtown, you'd have to contact everybody that lives upstairs. all the business owners. And they all have different needs. But they all think the parking is theirs, I can guarantee you that right now. And we have to consider that. Okay? And anyway, thanks for your time, I'll sit and listen, and I don't mean to criticize anybody, honestly.
Thanks, Randy. Appreciate the comments.
Thank you very much.
All right. Do you want to take that over?
I
or,
will, yes.
I can kind of fill you in, so yeah, we
Okay.
kind of got through parking, and we kind of pushed a lot of your laydown as just an administrative thing, because it's hard to reconcile with what we got going on here.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
I apologized for being late. I was focused on 7 o'clock and hoping to be here early.
Yeah, I was right.
So, I'm really sorry. It's the first time in my career that's happened. And I appreciate Rhonda's, where are you? So, I will watch the YouTube to catch up on what I missed and also discuss with administration. Commissioner Hornstead said, a lot of this might be administrative, so I'd be happy to talk with you guys to figure out.
Sure, yeah, we went through the packet, and then we did bring up your laydown, and we just mentioned that we felt a lot of it was more housekeeping and administrative, that we could just
Good.
work on
I
the
didn't
back end.
make any dramatic edits. I did add a few things, and those are in the usual bold and underlined, whatever. But it was mostly a reorganization to make it more clear, the categories, repeated services, and so it was not an attempt to drastically modify the code. It was just to try to make it more logical and easy to use by alphabetizing it and using the definitions, which are different sometimes from what the land use table says. I referred to those and then tried to categorize things as the definitions and our land uses allowed table does, to make it just correlate with what we already had. So, good. I'll be in touch with you
Yep.
guys.
Yeah, there's a couple things, I guess I would highlight that do show some differences in square foot, spaces per square footage, and some, here you put a space per 4 seats. This is on page 4, top of page 4.
I don't mind, but
Could I
you
get
can
a
get
set
in
of-
dummies.
Can I get a set of the paperwork?
Yeah.
There should be a,
They changed.
They would?
is it not one of your, there should be.
I didn't
The
have it.
administrative changes with these, the ones where we're dealing with spelling and alphabetizing.
I
One
just
goes
didn't
teen
get
center, boys and girls in that teen center.
Well, sure, but I still want to understand why she decided to change those and what was her reason for that.
Those won't automatically change, we have to.
Okay, so do we want to talk about some of them now, or since they're here and we're all here, and it's a work
Now that
session?
everybody's here, we can, but I didn't want to get on it before because
Yeah, she wasn't here, yeah.
Could I start with that very first change? It was confusing to me how it was written, and Commissioner Hubbard brought it up, like, oh, so motels and hotels, don't have to have parking in HC and CB, but yes, they do if it's by conditional use permit. So the way it was written was really confusing to me, so I broke it down to a few different sentences, and I spelled out those zones. So that first one is, boom, that's what it is. And then, there are no parking requirements in zoning districts HC and CB unless required by a conditional use permit, period. And then I changed the business owner to property owner, because not everything is a business, and yada yada. So does that make sense? I was really hoping that clarified how our zoning code and CUPs work.
Yeah, well, like we spoke, just, those things definitely you could work out with the administration, but there were some things that you changed as far as
Okay.
parking requirements.
And could I ask what you thought about the bicycle parking?
Did you like that? That was for me.
I appreciate the intent. I don't think that's going to work as written.
Okay. Is it worth pursuing in some form to emphasize bicycle parking? It is part of parking.
I think it's a discussion for another time. I think what we got started on was car parking, and I think we should keep the focus on that.
Where would
Well, I
you
think
envision
we-
parking in the future?
I think-
Just a sec.
Okay.
Where would you envision parking for bicycles being in the code in the future?
I would prefer it really to not be in the code, just like car parking shouldn't be in the code, but
Darn. Well, we're trying to encourage people to provide parking stands for bicycles. But I did see that in this other town, and I thought, well, that's a good idea. You know, why don't we encourage parking of bicycles as well as parking of cars? But if the commission thinks it's not a good time, then
Well, I thought, but I think when we talked about it a little bit, it felt like most of this pertained to Parks and Rec, with parks and libraries and public facilities, and not necessarily our field and more of their field.
okay.
And I don't think, if I can speak for administration, they didn't quite want
Yeah,
to wrangle.
yeah, just the community development director may require bicycle, it just puts a big subjective task
Right.
that I don't want.
Right, that caught my eye too. That's
Yeah.
what they used. It's like, oh, interesting. But it might just be a heads up for Parks and Rec to provide those amenities. That's fine. Okay, Commissioner
I
Pemberton,
think
you
it's
had your
part of
hand up?
parking. I mean, I've read it in other books too, and the things I've been reading online, that parking for bicycles is part of parking. You're parking your bicycle somewhere, when you go to the grocery store, when you go downtown, you need a place to park your bicycle. And if we're trying to encourage more bicycle use, it could become a safety issue for pedestrians if bicycles don't have a place to park that's safe and gives pedestrians a way to get around them.
That reminds me, another place would be the shopping, the store, the grocery store.
Yeah, the grocery stores, Sea Life Center, and if we do another, if the
Right.
city's gonna do another parking lot down there for overflow parking or anything like that, I think that should be added in there as well.
Okay.
That's just my thought.
Thank you.
It's interesting though, we don't have bicycle parking mandates, right? But we have these parking regs in our code. But somehow, some way, people have provided bicycle parking, or they put up racks. So they get it. So I think the concern is, do we really need to mandate and put this in code and require this as much as, yeah, it is suggested, put in a CUP, whatever, but we don't, to actually require it, we would hope that, I mean, how did we get bike racks down at the harbor? How did we get bike racks? I think we have them over at the library. Who does that?
Parks and Rec, I imagine.
But we don't have it in code. right?
Okay. Well, it
Somehow,
caught
some
my
way-
eye when I was reading that
Yeah.
other code.
And I would, yeah, I would strongly encourage it. I think just seems like a good community thing for people to do and consider for bicycle users. So.
And I think the more bicycle racks that there are, then maybe the more bicycles will be used. That's just
Yeah.
my thought on it, so.
Well, it sounds like the consensus is it's working pretty well right now and we don't need to codify it. So
Okay.
keep that in mind for the future. Rhonda, you had some questions about changes that I have made.
Yeah, I was just curious, you had put on the number of spaces, let me see, the first one was on page 3. Center, you have one space per, you noted 400 versus 1,000.
So we are in which entry?
Bottom, center community, senior teen, library, museum, post office.
Okay,
One space per 400 instead of 1,000 feet, gross floor. There we go.
right. So what do you think about that?
I don't know why it has to be reduced. So now if you have
you're actually essentially doubling it. Now you're asking 2 spaces per 1,000 square feet, whereas before it was, or actually less than that. You're having 2 spaces, so if you have 800 square feet, you need 2 spaces.
What's the square footage of the library? Because every time I go by
Oh, I
there and
wrote
try to
that
park,
down,
it's
I
always
didn't bring
full.
it. I know, that's what brought this to mind, it's like post office overflows, the library is always.
Well, 400 square
overflows.
foot is barely a studio,
Yes.
so.
So, I guess if we changed it.
And that's where somebody lives, and this is just people that are in and out, and some people are walking there. I don't think it's necessary to reduce that size.
Okay, consensus, keep it 1,000?
I would say for the post office, I can tell you that, because I measured
Oh,
it,
that's
it's
right.
close to 10,000 square feet, that building. And very seldom, unless it's closing, unless it's early in the morning or after closing, because so many packages come through the post office, so many supplies and things come through there, that place is rocking. So, just saying, that is overflowed. If you drive down there, like every half hour or so, you'll be able to see how much it overflows certain times of the day.
It's short-lived. They're right alongside the road, the right-of-way where they're allowed to park too, and the parking
Yeah,
lot
but there's
isn't.
people that are parking over across the road, and that's really low parking over there.
Yeah, and some people prefer not to use the parking spot because they have to back out, and a lot of people just like to come in, go on the right side, park, go in and and come back out and keep
So
going.
they have 15 packages that they can't pick at the back dock anymore. Then that's what's a lot of, I mean, that's, not many people go to the back dock to pick up anymore, so,
Because they can.
right.
And we shouldn't be
Yeah.
forcing people to park in the grass.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
a
it's
right of
just,
way.
I'm just saying, but
But they're allowed to temporarily park there, they're not there overnight. Anyway, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, and of course, the teen center has no parking. Well, I don't want to rock the boat, so let's just keep it the same. That'll avoid creating non-conforming uses. Next one?
The difference between one space, or would it, public assembly, include auditorium, church, funeral, again, I think 4 seats maximum is fine.
But if there aren't, let's see,
One
what's
space
with
for 4
RDCs?
seats, so you have 80 people, you need 20 parking spots. Okay.
Instead of square feet.
Yeah. You're feeling, people are using seats, not square
Right, in this
feet.
case, they are using seats.
They are using seats.
Yeah. So I would keep it at seats rather than square feet.
Okay,
Well, I like seats better than square feet. Churches, assemblies. That's probably pretty close. People usually come in 2s. I'm okay with 1 for 4 on that.
okay. Strike that addition. Next one, Rhonda? Did you like to change from each staff member or employee to just say employee?
Yes.
Seemed kind of duplicative.
Yeah, that's fine.
And employee on duty, does that make sense to you as well? Okay.
You went back, the clinics and offices. Is this contradicting what we had changed?
So I added, it says offices was the category,
Oh,
so I expanded it to clinics and offices.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we could have clinic, medical or dental, and then all these various kinds of offices.
See my parking, just
Right,
change.
right, just change that heading to be more
Yeah, that makes
inclusive.
sense.
I also added on page 5, office, home, professional. One space plus principal dwelling requirements, because because that was not included, but it is an office. So you figure, okay, probably one client per whatever at a time,
Yeah.
and then plus the principal dwelling requirements. And then veterinary services, is that what we decided, one space per treatment room plus?
If we're gonna talk about the office, I mean, this is what I was
Sure.
talking about, we have some conflict with what was in our original here.
Okay.
The multi-use is, like, if I understand correctly, office, home, professional would be multi-use as a dwelling and a office. Now, under those, is that where the 75% thing comes in?
Right.
So that's what I was saying, like, there's conflicts with the laydown with what we have already in the code.
Didn't think of an office, home office being a multi-use, but you're right, it is.
Yeah, I mean, so that's.
So we don't need to include that because it's already taken care
Yeah, anything multi-use is taken care
Right,
of.
interesting.
With the single uses, that's,
I was focused on like a little bookkeeping job, occupation in a home. I didn't think of that as being a multi-use. But it is. Okay, strike that one. Veterinary services, is that what we agreed on? One space per treatment room plus one for each employee on duty? Since it hasn't been codified yet, that's just from memory. Okay. Do you have another one, Rhonda?
Space for each 100 square feet gross. There again, that's a lot of parking for 100 square feet of. Trying to think of an example that we have here, like a gym, basically, right?
Are we looking at business, general sales, retail sales?
Now I'm looking at page 5, commercial uses, like amusement or recreation
Okay.
facility.
That's just what we had in our code.
Okay, that's good.
I just
Okay,
combined a bunch of different entries into ones that had the
okay.
same category. A difference would be auto service station, gas station. It seems like most of our gas stations have associated retail sales area. Would those be treated separately or together?
Would those be considered multi-use?
What does staff think? They all have something that sells something different associated with them.
Where do they fall?
Yeah, I mean, I would consider it a mixed-use sort of development.
If they're selling gas, their service station have pumps, and then they're also, some of them are selling, most of them I think are selling food, maybe?
Like a food market.
And small groceries and things like that. So would they be considered multi-use?
With the 70%?
That'd be an example like the marketplace, right?
No, like actual gas station.
Yeah, the marketplace has.
So
Oh, I
gas
was
gas.
thinking about like supermarkets. You mean, sorry. I thought you
It does.
Super. They do sell gas there, yeah.
Yeah,
They do.
sell
Yeah,
gas.
I don't know.
Every
so-
gas station
and so
has
does
food
Essential.
associated
Yeah,
with it.
every gas station has food and
Yeah.
groceries and some other things as well.
Okay.
But they're all on one parcel, they're not separate properties. So would that be another case of mixed-use development? This is so new, we're just recognizing things. Okay. So then would we, because it's different from a lot of these other uses, I still like one space for each 2 gas pumps. And then, instead of the one space for 300, we would have the mixed-use development requirements. Do you know off the top of your head what that would be?
Maybe that's something they could look through.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what you're asking.
Okay, So what would the mixed-use development requirements be for an auto per gas station that has food attached to it?
So it would be, if it was a food store, then you would take the one parking space for each 300 square feet, calculate that use, and then the parking required for the service station, which is one parking space for each 2 gas pumps, and then 75% of that would be.
Okay. So it'd be, so this says it says all of that except the 75%.
Yeah, so that's what's,
Right.
they're gonna do some wordsmithing on.
So you say 75% of, or whatever. Okay. Yeah, mixed-use development is a new concept here. An old concept, but newly defined. Did you like the drive-in facility, fast food banking, 4 queue spaces? That came up when we did the conditional use permit for the pharmacy. And learned about queue spaces, that's how important they are.
Yes, that makes sense.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the only ones I have.
Okay. And then under mixed-use development, it says parking follows requirements for each mixed use, and I quoted that. If that works there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
The one I didn't get on page 6 was service or repair shop, retail store handling exclusively bulky merchandise such as machinery, furniture, wholesale stores, appliances, carpet, showrooms, etc. There's nothing in our land uses allowed table or definitions that really correlates with this.
Yeah.
But I can see they wanted, instead of 300 square feet, it said 400 square feet. But I just left it because I didn't really know what else to do with it. I can't think of furniture, wholesale stores, appliances, carpet. We don't have that.
We used to.
Maybe we used to, yeah.
We used to, we can use them right now. The old A1.
Yeah.
And the secondhand stores that do that sometimes have furniture.
Stairs.
But they're not,
Yeah.
they're in the HC,
Yeah.
CB, just leave it?
Yeah.
Okay. Added building material yards to warehousing, storage, and wholesale businesses?
Yeah, that's fine.
Like in your dreams, if we get that?
Yes.
That's what some of our builders used to be in.
Yeah. And the rest was the same. Then I just put a list of not listed. And some of these do seem to establish their own category. Boat, commercial building, boat repair and maintenance, repair service, salvage, shops. But I couldn't find anything, any category that slot goes under.
Yeah.
Unless you want to just leave them up to your discretion. That sound good?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for letting me quickly review that. All right. Shall we move on? Sorry. Okay. Next on the agenda is a list of changes. Oh, I'm sorry. I have one question. This parking ordinance, will that come back to us in the form of a resolution so we can approve the final changes?
Yes.
And then go forward as
Yes.
an ordinance? Okay.
Yes.
Thanks. Next on the agenda is a review of the list of changes in the muni plan due to rezones or replats that have occurred in 2024 and 2025, and a review of which city-owned properties would be recommended for housing solutions starting on page 19. Would the staff please give an overview?
Yeah, so for part of this discussion, we'll have Jamie helping us out with the TV screen since it is a large document to follow along, but tonight we're going over edits that will be incorporated into a future update of the plan. As you'll see, there are an extensive amount of edits, and a lot of those, I would say more than half of those are still pending on replats being completed. So the primary edits will reflect the recommendations from the Commission's January 21st work session, which discussed potential housing uses on certain city-owned properties, as well as what has come from recent rezones and replats of city-owned land. The chair has provided a handout with some suggested housekeeping edits, which we can take care of internally. A lot of those were great suggestions, and so if any of you find any other housekeeping edits or have found any other housekeeping edits, feel free to email us and we can take care of those internally, so to be more respectful of your time and the public's time here, not to go over some of those things that are easy to do on our time in the office. So the edits presented tonight in tonight's packet are grouped into two categories. You'll see the map edits. I believe this is shown on page 13 of the packet, just kind of a overall an overview of it. So two categories of map edits and recommendation edits. And as you can see also with another one of the handouts that the chair has provided, that there are plenty of map edits that need to be done. But these are also basically editorial as well, you know, updating parcel boundaries from finalized or pending plats, and then the subsequent formatting and renumbering that we need to do with these maps. So we'll take care of this also, and I don't think it'd be the best use of the Commission's time to go through every single map that just is adjusting parcel boundaries or changing numbering. So we have provided the list of map edits in the packet for your reference and pleasure reading, but didn't foresee a thorough discussion on those edits, as they're pretty self-explanatory. So our discussion tonight will focus more on the recommendation edits, which will benefit the most from a discussion and public input. So we'll start on page 13. I'll walk you through. I've listed the maps here that have recommendation updates. Some of them, a couple of them were just simple zoning updates or parcel information updates, so we'll kind of breeze through those, but spend a little bit more time on the ones that were recommendation edits. So we'll start with page 41, which is map 5. And
Just a quick question on the laydown that you provided, Courtney. Can you note, like for example on page 4 of this laydown, you note 48 and update 77. Does that mean there's two different maps in the packet?
that was the chair's handouts. I'm not sure what was referenced, but I'm assuming it's the renumbering of the maps that will need to happen with,
Okay.
yeah,
So
as the maps get updated.
Don't refer to these laydowns at this point then?
Not at this point,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So the first one is page 41, and this is the Public Works facility, its current location. And the commission recommended that a portion of the land, you'll see in red there at the bottom, be used for an RFP to build 1 or 2 apartment complexes with 2 to 3 bedrooms in each unit. And this came from the January 21st work session.
I looked back at my notes and it was 2 to 4 bedrooms.
Okay, we can change it to 2 to 4. All right, and then I'll just kind of move along, so speak up if you do have input then. The next one was map 25, which is page 78, and this one was a simple update, so I won't spend a lot of time. It was the north water tank and pumping facility. The commission remembers we and sorry Jay, if you scroll down, it's just the one right below it, showing the change from single-family zoning to institutional zoning there. And then the next one is map 37, which is page 100. And this was just an update of the parcel information for a replat that has been approved. And so we're not waiting on anything, we can go ahead and put in the new parcel identification numbers, addresses, and legal descriptions. This was for the replat, separating out the campground, Forest Acres campground, and the bike park. So those were just two simple ones, not doing anything with the recommendation, but more of the editorial type of comments. And then page 104, was the recommendation for the Gateway Playground, or the Doorway Playground. So the commission recommended to, and sorry, I have it changed in red under retention status to retain ownership, and the recommendation part would need to be changed then, unless, yeah, was it, does the commission still feel, once the Jesse Lee Memorial Park is completed, to sell as a single-family lot, but currently to retain ownership, or just in general, regardless of any future development of parks, to retain ownership?
Commissioner Charbonneau?
I think we should sell it once the Jesse Lee Park is completed, so we should keep it like that. Because there'll be a park, what is that, not even a block away, a better one, and then that's a great place for a home, surrounded by other homes.
We did receive a lot of input from the neighbors up and down Doorway that said they just like the park location, they walk down the street, you don't have to cross over. It's great for their little kids, and it was important to them in that neighborhood. And we have no guarantees that a home would ever be built on that lot. Someone could buy it and just have it, you know. The neighbor next door could buy it and have a bigger yard. So I think the greater value is to retain it as a beloved neighborhood park. And I would support retaining ownership and recommend us to keep as a neighborhood playground, tot lot.
Another thought would be, once you get the Jesse Lee Memorial Park done, and see how well it's occupied or used compared to the other one. So I don't know, does this set us in stone if we?
No, we do this
No.
every year.
Fine then.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say it that way.
Would you do every year?
We could do what Carol said, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And then once because you're right,
Okay,
who knows?
let's just do that then.
Who knows when that's gonna get built? So when that does get built, we can do what you say, and maybe look at capacity usage or whatnot, and then decide when that year comes around, whether that park is being utilized or whether everybody wants to do the newer park. Brilliant. Sorry, I should have said it that way.
I know one of the
Does that sound good?
Some of the people on Doorway was the amount of traffic that goes through that one there, that
Right.
one corner there, where they go.
It's a busy intersection.
Yeah.
So let's retain it as a playground, retain
Okay.
ownership, and then revisit it when circumstances change.
Yeah,
That'd be
that sounds
great.
good. Then the next one is map 41, and this was also just a zoning change. The Mount Marathon hiking trailhead, so the commission rezoned it, city council rezoned it from single-family residential to park, so that update is there on page 110. So then we'll jump to the next one, which is page 121. And this is the Spring Creek Campground. So this one is, of course, a pending plat for the boundaries here. But the recommendations that the commission had made, number 2, we will be striking because we did pursue that to request an easement, and the property owner was not interested. So that no longer is relevant. And then striking in number 4, the Spring Creek Park, and then number 3, rezoned a park, since city council has voted on not rezoning it to park at this time.
Is the legal description correct? Yeah, it is Spring Creek replat. tract.
Yeah.
Okay, the 4th of July Creek subdivision threw me off.
Okay.
But it is a Spring Creek replat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So those were the only recommendations there, and we would then remove the next page, 122, which showed the desired boundaries for the easement and the replat, since that recommendation has been fulfilled with the current replat that's pending.
Do you want to talk more in the description? Do you want to talk more about the preservation of the public access easement? It's required by the state.
Yeah, you mean to add that piece in there? Yeah. Yeah, that would be really good
Don't
to
want
add.
to forget about
Yes.
public access
Yes.
easements. We lose them
Yep,
without help.
good point, good catch.
Okay, just adding that.
Do you have to put that right away? Is that, what did we end up in? It was along that utility line, right?
Yeah, it was a utility and public access easement.
There you go.
I can, when Selena updates the maps, I can ask her to show on the map the easement.
Okay.
That way it's clear on the map and then written in the description.
Perfect.
So moving on to map 61, which is on page 157. This is a previous lease site over in the SMIC area for a radio tower and then a GCI communication satellite. And I spoke with Tony, the harbor master, and he confirmed that those leases have been terminated. So this will need to be renumbered. Potentially this parcel would be moved to map 85, which I believe is land available for lease. And so this would need a new recommendation from the commission of what the commission would like to see this parcel used for. I mean, it could be specific or something general as lease with, lease parcel with sound plan or.
Oops, sorry. There's another lease site right here. It has a big old creosote pole and a radar, a dish. Do you know why
Yeah,
that one's not on here?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was meant to be within this parcel and they just got the placement wrong of their
Well, this
dish, but
site's been totally cleared, pretty clearly, this rectangle, but the other one is over here. I think it has to do with the prison communications.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but there are two leases here and that should be on this map.
Yeah, I'll follow up with Tony to figure out what that
it
lease is.
Yeah. And then wouldn't it make sense to incorporate this into the Spring Creek campground property?
So I was thinking if it's not gonna be used for anything and there isn't anything on it, then we
Just
should
a-
just incorporate it.
Vacate the
Yeah.
property boundaries and.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a reasonable recommendation. All right. So then we'll move on to map 77 on page 191. And this is, it shows, this is referring to the parcel just north of Chugachamute. So it's the former Air Force Rec Camp. It's the parcel that the future Public Works building is projected to be on and would then be and is being worked on currently to figure out how it's going to be replatted. But the commission did recommend in red here that as this property is surrounded by municipal uses, the city should consider if there are other city departments that could utilize this land. Meaning, and sorry, it's confusing since it hasn't been separated yet. We're meaning that northern portion above where the public works facility would go.
Above the road, that's the gravel that's in, yeah.
Yeah, above that electrical easement.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
So is that where it was referred to as having city employee parking?
I believe that is where Randy was.
That's where Randy
Mhm.
is talking about having city parking since it already belongs to the city and.
Underneath the easement. So we should just leave it the same because they're not sure what they want to do with it yet, so there's no reason to break it apart. Is that what they're kind of getting there, what they're saying? They might want to put something else there, so just let it lay?
Well, I think, so, so the recommendation for the remainder of the parcel is to lease or sell with a sound development plan. But then the commission also recommended that the city should consider that it may be a property that other city departments could use. I don't know I can't remember if this discussion was on if the police department could go there as well, or, which I know the city is pursuing another parcel at this time for that, so I'm not sure which other departments, Parks and Rec, I don't, yeah. So I don't know if, is this a recommendation that the commission still feels is relevant, or?
Go to sell the sound development?
Yeah, the entirety of it, I
May
guess.
speak, please?
Sorry.
So, I'm already getting calls about the police department.
Well, yeah, that caused a stir, huh?
Oh,
The council meeting.
And people calling me and I'm like, I'm just on the planning and zoning.
That's right.
That's what I said, I'm just on planning and zoning. Wouldn't that be something maybe we should save in case the police department decides not to go into the area they're currently looking at? Just suggest.
Well, they are saying retain ownership, so there's a lot of,
I think we should retain ownership until, and then review it later when the dust settles.
Yeah.
But to sell it now with a sound development plan, doesn't make sense.
I think you guys are all right. Keep it and see if somebody else in the city wants to use it.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation. I mean, I know it could bring you revenue and have less city land and all of that, but I think it would be really smart right now to keep it.
can I ask, what's going on with 2007, just south of 2008? That's that open lot that we were told that the fire department uses, but it's not city property?
Oops, sorry.
Oh, so you're referring to the
Right up the street.
vacant parcel that the...
Yeah, just north of the fire department.
Yeah, I believe it's, sorry, my computer isn't connecting to the internet, so I can't check, but from my memory, I believe it is owned by the volunteer fire department, so I don't believe it is city property, it's owned by the volunteers.
Oh,
Yes.
okay,
Fire
so that's why
department.
they were very possessive of using and
Yeah, so
utilizing
it's-
that for their practice area and holding on to that, okay. It wasn't for just anybody to use. Interesting.
Okay, so we'll change this, the recommendation, the written portion above the red, we'll change that recommendation as to retain ownership rather than to sell.
Yes.
Alright, moving on to map 82, page 202.
Could you hold this for a second?
Yeah.
Map 77 appears in the corners and on the edges of many of these maps.
Yeah, and that'll,
You just have to do a search for it, it's like, wow. So that will all have to be updated.
yeah, any parcels that are changing boundaries with any of these pending plats, all of the maps that are affected, even, I mean, we have maps that very
Exactly.
tiny, we'll
Yeah.
update all of those. So yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be a very tedious
Tedious
process,
job
but
personally.
but yeah, all of those very minute details will be taken care of.
Yeah, I was amazed how often it showed up. Okay, sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
That was good. So map 82, page 202. The commission remembers this discussion, it's those natural properties, so there's zoned resource management, 2 properties along Nash Road, 1, that's kind of a little bit wider, just more square shaped, and then one that's very long and narrow. So the commission recommended to replat, so 009 and 024. Let me look at, make sure I have the right ones here. Oh, is that in? So yeah, so to replat 2 of them into 1 parcel, which would be parcel 145-33009 and 145-33024. So those are, sorry, east of the mitigation site, you'll see there's a little tiny rectangular one inside of a larger parcel, so just to combine those into 1 parcel.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It does make sense to me to combine those into 1 parcel, but to lease or sell with a planned unit development does not make sense when you understand the topography and the lack of utilities over there. I think it'd be, well, just read it. It's no dedicated road access, generally steep terrain, much of it is in a canyon, no public water, sewer, or electric. No public water, sewer, electric. I don't know,
It's a great place to
Just
hike.
I think it might be
There,
better
I
just
said
to
it.
retain it as city property view shed.
So change the recommendation to retain ownership.
What does the commission think?
I agree with you that nobody's gonna build on it, because there's not really anything to build on. But I also think that it makes sense to sell the sound plan. If somebody wants to buy it and figure out how to do something on it, maybe that's okay, but also I don't think anybody will, so maybe we just,
Let it slide?
yeah.
There's been a property nearby that's been for sale for 20 years.
Yeah.
And the original, well, not the original owner, but the owner who came before us pleading to be able to use his land was so frustrated because he could not, the power line goes right along Nash Road and he could not get power to his property. He can't get water, he can't get sewer, and it's really steep. It's been for sale ever since.
Yeah.
And it's just not a developable property. And this is a steep side of Mount Alice. So I just as soon nail it down as, let's keep it. It's part of our
That's kind of how I
view shed.
feel,
Let's
because
keep it.
people can hike there if they choose to at their own risk. People can go gather plants and things like that if they choose to at their own risk, you know. And I think it gives a little bit, retains a little bit of wildness that's really wild and not a paved path. And there's some people that do like.
Okay, combine them and keep it? Okay.
Can I ask what the cost of this replat stuff is?
A lot. I keep using this.
What is the process? I mean, I know we're dealing with surveyors and it's already surveyed. Is it just
Use the
a
restroom,
matter
excuse
of
me.
the paperwork change, or do they actually have to go and?
Yeah, no, it's still a pretty involved process to vacate property lines. They set the new boundaries and so it's, I mean, an average of $10,000 to do a simple replat like this.
So I would say instead, if we're gonna retain it, then why bother replatting it?
You raise a good point.
So let's just not do it.
So retain it and keep it how it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
no reason to.
Take that money to the
Yeah.
bank. Good point.
And then just on the next page, 203, we then have the, I believe this is the long, narrow parcel alongside of Nash Road. And the recommendation that the commission gave in January was to keep as resource management or rezone to park and retain ownership. And I believe the reason why the commission recommended to rezone it to park was because there was some sort of public access trail to the beach on that parcel.
Right by the cell tower.
Yeah.
And it's very steep.
It is.
But you can do it, but it's really steep. It's not developable.
No.
So, as a park advocate, I'd go for that
That's fine.
and retain ownership.
Yeah, retain ownership, we're not yet, nobody's gonna build on that. I'm fine with you resource or park, whatever you guys feel, but keep it.
All right, and then the last one that we have here would be on map 83, which is page 205. And this is for the SMIC bench, so that large parcel that surrounds the SMIC area and is primarily the mountain there, Mount Alice, so 145320003. And the commission recommended striking that, striking the part of the recommendation to lease or sell with the sound development plan. So it would just be, recommendations are to retain with the possibility of a public recreation site.
What would the zoning be for a public recreation site?
Yeah, it would depend on the type of recreation.
Okay.
Because,
Hiking, mountain biking, skiing.
yeah, I mean, I imagine, yeah, trails, that's fine in resource management. If you're looking more at something more developed, it would just be up to the commission, because it would probably have to come forward as a conditional use permit, since we don't have anything in our land uses allowed table for more of that outdoor recreation resort sort of thing, if someone was thinking of a skiing area, or, you know, I can't think of all the possibilities for a public recreation
People
site,
already
but
use it for those. There's a trail there. People use it. I've been cross-country skiing over there.
well, yeah, none of that's,
They're in the mountains?
all that's fine.
Yeah, no commercial uses of those
Right.
uses.
I would support keeping it without commercial uses. It's our view shed, it's a beloved hike, ski,
There's a lot of
snowshoe.
people that hike up there.
Right.
There's a lot of people that ski up there. Snowshoeing is fun up there.
And in order to protect it, I would support rezoning it to park to prevent commercial use. It's our view shed, it's the iconic view.
What would Alice do? No, I didn't.
Well-
Don't think so.
Yeah,
Just
what
had
would
to
Alice
say
do?
that.
I agree with keeping it.
Yeah.
I myself would just like to see it stay zoned as it is and just keep it. I don't feel the need to change it right now, especially since we did that feasibility study and it doesn't really look like
Correct.
there's.
It's not feasible.
I also don't wanna lock it up just in case at some point it does become feasible to make a little bit of a housing development up there, because I think that would be amazing. So, let's just keep it and leave it zoning how it is.
I'd like it to be a park.
I'd like it to
I'm
be
just
a park.
saying why,
To protect it, it has to be
yeah,
part.
to keep it so that everybody that uses it, all the people, there's people in town, out of town, that live right out of town, you know, they go over there.
And we don't have to
Just
make it a
like-
park to use it. It's still
Yeah, but
being
then you're
used.
leaving it open to some guy comes in with enough money and decides, oh, this is the way we want it because this is the way they do it down in this state or that state.
Well, not all of it, a very
No.
small portion of it.
That's a possibility though.
That's the mole on the Mona Lisa.
Yeah,
That's true, it is a possibility.
there's always a possibility when we get people moving in that want us to change to something else.
I like resource management, but what does everybody else like?
There's a lot of uses in resource
Yeah.
management that are incompatible with this mountain.
We're talking 2003, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Big one.
And the comp plan is quite full of, we value our view shed, we value, you know, this and that, and Mount Alice is it.
Yep.
So I would strongly advocate for a park.
What do the
Wants
rest
to
of you
speak?
think?
I think we should keep it as resource management and not lock ourselves down from any potentials as well, because I think that's our other issue in this town frequently. so.
What sort of potentials would you be
I don't
thinking?
know, like anything in the future, if someone did want to come in and build, or it does become more of a recreation site that's privately owned, I don't know, but
I would like to lock that out.
shut possibility
Yeah.
out?
Because
Because
we
that's what I'm
value.
here for, and that's what people like, and a lot of people have said that's what they enjoy.
think
Is
the
that
whole
view?
commission
So
would
if
agree.
you have something up there, that's not what they want to look at.
And no one's doing that right now, so I don't see the problem.
So I see locking it out, well, guarantee nobody will do it.
Correct.
Let's take a vote.
So are we talking,
can't make it
are we
so.
trying to, are we trying to,
No, it's like-
so tonight, are we talking about retention status or zoning, or both?
Could retain ownership.
And then zoning
Retain.
either.
Just any recommendations that the commission may have, so you could, I mean, yeah, so what the commission is talking about now, this property is zoned resource management, so the commission could just say, we recommend rezoning this area to park, but it would only be a recommendation that then, of course, would have.
Yeah.
Or you could say the commission is split on the rezone.
Well, I mean, the one we just talked about, the recommendations are to keep as resource management or rezone to park. So we could incorporate that language to reflect the split view of the commission and
Look at that compromise. You know it's a good compromise when no one's happy. I'm okay with that too.
I just try to listen to the people here, so
Right.
that's my thing.
I think your wording reflects the commission's discussion. Okay.
Okay, so we'll keep as resource management or rezone to park and retain ownership.
Correct.
And then on page 206, this is also with the same map, map 83, but this is now referring to the property on 600 Nash Road and Betty Cato Avenue. So this is that parcel just to the west of the prison. And the commission recommended to create a zoning overlay to explore mixed zoned options for the property if it were developed in the future.
I would like to see it developed in the future.
What is the topography of that? I
flat.
need to take
It's
a,
flat.
It's quite
That's,
flat.
that's where all the old
Sludge.
sludge is piled.
So council approved that area to go up 48 feet, right? That parcel. I don't know that we need to be involved with creating a zoning overlay.
They already approved it.
yeah,
Seems like
right.
it's
I
ready
remember
for
that now.
developer to speak to it if they
Right.
wish to do something.
So just lease or sell with sound development plan as the recommendation, or?
I suppose. I have qualms about
I thought
sound
it-
development plan. We haven't had very many, and we've sold property.
Okay,
Which
I,
is sketchy.
So
Yeah,
it
that's
was-
not our business.
Yeah, right.
I thought it was the two lots, but we also included that one too, the two lots just south of there that goes to the beach. It's privately owned,
Sorry.
but we also included 2006 also, what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, just that.
Just that little piece right here.
But I don't,
Well, it's 30 acres. Pretty generous.
okay, I
parcel.
couldn't remember the 48 feet if we did it, how much of that we included.
The whole
remember?
parcel. This
Yeah.
parcel is included.
How about west of there?
That's privately owned.
Private.
Is that 48 feet too?
We went on this side, we wanted to protect the
Oh, that's right, we
viewshed.
just went on that side, but we
Yeah.
did include that other piece then, huh?
We did.
The one north of there?
Right, that we included this. But this one is city property,
Right, okay.
so we could,
Oh, that's right, okay, I remember it being on the east side of the road. Just didn't remember if
Right.
it was that one too. Okay. All
we
right.
could just leave it as it is
Mhm.
and strike that
Yeah.
new language. But
Okay.
maybe update it with the information that on this and thus date, ordinance or whatever council said 48 feet.
Okay. And those were all of the,
So mixed zone options, that wasn't, I thought that was deemed industrial, I'm sorry, I keep wanting to make, back to the zoning issue here. 2006.
That's resource management.
Okay.
It might be a hot
But the one
topic.
below that, I'm sorry, the one south of that, that's zoned industrial. I remember.
yeah.
But they
Correct.
can't,
Yeah, okay.
you can't build homes in industrial, so we talked about if they were going to build apartments up to 48, they would have to change the zoning.
With the Coast Guard moving in over there, they might want to look at these properties, including the city property, to build something. So it's a quiet, oh, that's where they composted sludge, you know? We're going to go from that to a major development for the Coast Guard, you know? We don't know. It's a sleeper right now,
Dun, dun, dun.
but let's be
Hope it don't
prepared.
end up like the White Alice sites.
I know.
That's all I'm gonna say.
The what?
No, it's just,
It's different.
It can't be mitigated?
it already is.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Okay.
It
That was a
needed
long
10 years
time
and it
ago.
was like
A very long
25.
time
Okay.
ago, yeah.
So those are all the recommendation updates that I have recorded from our January 21st work session and pertaining to the rezones and replats. So I know there were a couple in your laydowns, Chair Griswold.
Right, so I went through it and touched on the maps that you did not. So I didn't want to duplicate anything. So in my handout, Public Lands Map 2, just a heads up, 104 Benson is in the pipeline right now. So we'd be adding that to a map if city property is acquired there.
That's just a negotiation though, right? That's not.
Correct, yeah. But things are
That's
moving.
tentative.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's just a heads up. Map 2 would need an update if that happens.
Okay.
And that would be within our 2025-26 update. Heads up. Edits, you know, add the teen room to the senior center, boys and girls club, as well as the description. The map 11, public facility lands map, there's still the former Harbor Uplands footprint in light gray. We can just have Selena magic that away. Real interesting on map 16, there's a missing sewer pressurized main that is now part of the new harbor master plan discussion, and it's not listed on the map, so that'd be a really important thing to update, so we understand there is a sewer main serving the restroom.
This is map 16.
Map 16.
I'm sure we had page numbers.
Well, I deleted the page numbers because the work session page numbers are different from
Right, that's why I say I like page number.
the actual document page numbers. So I deleted all my page numbers because I wanted just to keep it like this format, we just have maps. Let's see, I updated on the water tank, the north water tank and pumping facility. I really like, for all these changes, to reference what council ordinance did it and the date. It's been really useful in the past to have that information here so you understand the history of it. So with all these updates that we just discussed tonight, it'd be, and you have that list that Jamie's compiled, and just for the historic review, it's really very good to have that reference.
I'm sorry, catching up back on map 16, you said to add missing sewer pressurized main. That is in blue, right?
Blue is Sewer.
Sewer, excuse me, that's water.
Blue is water.
Water,
right?
yeah.
Green is sewer.
So isn't that noted on here?
I don't think so. What page?
16, it's page 61.
I looked
City sewer
at
and
it.
city water.
I didn't see it.
Right here.
So it goes right along here.
So they have just the section right here.
Is there more to it?
Yeah.
'Cause all-
Blue is water.
It's got it, yeah.
Green doesn't show up really well, but green is just this little diagonal line.
And there's more to it. And
It
you're
should
saying
be
it goes-
connected up back to probably.
Oh, it goes
Third
right
Avenue.
along the line? Okay.
No, it's not there.
It's got to come back and connect somewhere.
Somewhere, right?
So we're also paying attention to utilities in this whole, this is for
The
somebody
maps-
who's through this process.
The
so-
maps need to
The
be.
maps, yeah, have all that on there too,
accurate,
okay.
Yeah. This is such a valuable document. I wanted to show you, under pausing, this was the original one, 1995.
Right, our historian, ooh. Is it in color?
1995. No, not in
not-
color at all. But it has a lot of history, a lot of history.
Ooh, I want to read that sometime.
I know. I was thinking, gosh, it'd be nice to have an appendix that had stuff like this available online, so you could go back and see how we've changed. But anyway, I thought that was fun. Let's see if anything's significant here. So Forest Acres Campground, map 37. Recommendations are to continue use as campground until future fire station location is finalized and to retain ownership. And update retention status to retain ownership. So get rid of that lease or sell campground portion with a sound development plan.
All right.
There's a lot of shifting things going on.
Okay, I really want to look at the map. So that's 72? What page do you have? You're at
I
the,
passed it.
Did you say 72? It's a little more than that. So I have.
Should we
on-
wait till the fire
On
station?
page 99, 100.
37,
Should we wait to see what happens with the
map 37.
the location
Page
finalization
99.
before we change it?
Well, I don't want it to say lease or sell with a sound development plan, because this is a pending proposal.
Okay,
I think it'd be better to say retain it,
because something might happen.
exactly.
Okay.
So retain it as city parcel,
Okay,
I agree.
not lease or sell.
Yeah.
that's fine.
I agree.
That could be catastrophic for the fire department.
Here's this
That was,
Those are just sort of, I wanted to talk under map 39 Harbor Parks, Benny Benson Memorial Park. I wanted to add this section on page 3 of my handout about the severe flooding that's recently occurred. It's been a nightmare for Public Works to try to keep that area pumped out. And the two neighboring homes to the south have flooded crawl spaces. So I just thought it would be important to update that with what's going on, and also with the water and sewer line issue. They spent quite a bit of money to do some reconnaissance. They dug up the pavement, they looked down, they found the sewer and the water lines are really close together, and it's really hard to improve the drainage with a new culvert. You might have remembered a big plan to have a fish viewing station, this new culvert that would drain it out. They can't figure out how to do it because those water and sewer lines are so tight. They can't go deep enough, and they can't go high enough, they can't go in between.
over in that little park area?
Right, so that project kind of faded away. They had some money lined up, but
And we have water and sewer over there because,
water and sewer going down Chamberlain.
oh, this is labeled wrong, it's actually not Dairy Hill anymore, right? Where are we at? Oh, no, I take that back.
So you're proposing adding all of this history to it?
Yes, what do you think, having that in there, so people understand what's happening with this Benny Benson Memorial Park?
I am hesitant to add so much history to this document. I feel like that should go in a history document.
But
Because this
it's
is-
not historic.
It's happening
It's
now.
now.
That's not
It'd be
history,
historic
so-
if they solved.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a situation that I think it's important that they be able to see that it's happening.
I just don't want the document to grow so large because we keep putting history in it when really we're just looking at parcels and the maps of them and what the city intends to do with those particular spots. That's all. I don't think they need the history.
I don't think they need the history either, but I think they need the information that's causing problems for the area right now.
I'd argue that too. I don't know if they need that, because if we're looking at south parking lot, we have a description that I know something else. I don't think I need to read the parcel ID, physical address, all the information we have here. I don't need to read that parking has a slight slope to the west and that it can flood it sometimes. You know, that doesn't need to be there.
The whole thing was.
I know it's a
TMI,
problem, but
too much information.
I think it's too much to put in this document. I don't want to get bogged down with so much information. While you are correct, it is important and should go somewhere, I don't think that we need it here. When we flip through this, and other people flip through this, looking at particular maps and lots, they get the information they need to make decisions without just having extraneous information.
It's been a year since we got those grant funds. I'd like to get a report from Public Works to hear what they're doing with the money.
Well, that's why I think it's important, because it's still happening.
Not in this, I know we're getting off track, but I mean,
Right,
it
but that-
really is not in our purview. So this is, for what we're doing, but
But it
think
keeps
the council
it
needs to
keeps
be-
that information open. It's like, oh, hey, there's reference here about his grant. What happened to that grant? It keeps it open for,
Okay, so I would suggest our recommendation to council, or for this, is to follow up on this and find out what we're
Good.
doing with it.
Yeah, follow up.
But I would still keep it as park, retain ownership. As far as any upgrades, I'm just not sure that's really what we're supposed to be doing with this today. I appreciate
Right.
the recognition, for sure, and I would like to hear more about it. But for what we're doing today, I think the way it's reads now is fine. But you have piqued my interest. You really have.
That's good.
Because I want to know what they're doing, what this $117,000 did. But I think it's more of a council thing.
Yeah, I think if you start putting anecdotal information, when we read this every year, it just becomes a subjective document based on whoever's sitting in your seat of this is important enough to add, because you could do that for every single parcel here. And so this is more of an objective document, except when you get to the recommendations, and I think that's more subjective of what the commission feels, and so anything subjective in that realm should be tied to the recommendation, would be my 2 cents. But anything subjective outside the scope of a recommendation, I don't think fits the purpose of this document.
Agree, I want to keep it simple, concise, so they can look through it, and they can, 5 years from now, when we're here again, we can look through it and be like, boom, okay, this is going to get taken out in a couple of years, or it's going to get added to, and it's just going to get snowballed into too much.
it's a living document. When this is resolved, then you can take it out. But that's
I
fine.
don't think we need it.
That's fine. What do
My
you think
recommendation
about-
would be to ask the city manager what's going on with this money. That's my
Well, I
recommendation,
think-
from a
I think
subjective
they
point of view.
spent-
Otherwise, I like it the way it is.
Rhonda, I think they spent it on that research.
Okay.
And they found out that sewer and water lines were too close to allow a new fish culvert. Yeah. What, you guys are
They needed to spend
responsible for
$117,000
addressing?
for
And Benny Benson Park has all those addresses. Is that important to have all those addresses? Could it have just one at the main parking lot on Dairy Hill Lane?
So it's you'll notice it's for the parcel for the lagoon. the lagoon is one parcel. So those addresses correlate with the Benny Benson Park. Then you have the Legion, American Legion's, oh, no, it's not American, the Rotary Pavilion. So on the map viewer, there would be points at each of the, like the addresses that associate with those locations are specific to those areas where there's access for the public.
Okay. And that would be important for emergency response, so I understand. Okay, thank you. On page 4, map 56, the Northeast Harbor leases, U.S. Coast Guard.
Page 56 is on.
What do you propose?
To update it. Because now it's a Parks and Rec warehouse. See what page that's on.
147. Right. Or 146.
So map 56 is on page 146. And this needs to be updated, so I provided some language. Does that make sense? It's no longer U.S. Coast Guard? Okay, check. And then map 62, the SMIC leases, update that. It's like late breaking news. Polar Seafood is now Resurrection Seafood, whatever.
Resurrection Bay Seafoods.
We should have the correct name in there.
Right,
of owner.
That's kind of an active
right.
document in play right now, so.
But it's happening
Eventually
during this
will,
update.
yeah.
So that's just,
Okay.
keep that one in mind as it's happening. And then the same thing, map 65 Pacific, Resurrection Bay Seafoods has reverted back to the city. And then map 66, I believe Alutiiq Pride purchased their property. So that should be updated and deleted from the maps.
Okay.
The other ones are just that map 77 references all over the place. So that's all I have for maps. I know there's a lot of work to be done with recommendations throughout this document, but we can only do so much at one time. So focusing on these maps is a huge step. And I really appreciate all that work.
And it's really helpful, thank you.
Okay, let's see where we are. Any other comments about the meeting plan? Keep going.
Yes.
So Courtney, would you like to announce the Resurrection Bay Historical Society presentation?
Yeah, so this Thursday, the Historical Society is having a meeting, and the topic of the meeting will be cemeteries. And I'll be giving a presentation on the development of the cemetery map. It was, part of the presentation is what Selena gave in March of 2023 to the City Council, just documenting and explaining how the online cemetery map was created. So I'll just kind of review over that again, as well as go through the burial permit process and the columbarium that is out there, also for the permit process for that. And then there'll be some of the old documents that were used in the creation of the cemetery map on display for those interested in viewing older documents. So this will
This
be
Thursday, what time?
at the community library
Okay.
room downstairs, and it will start at 7 o'clock p.m. And then there will be others presenting pictures of historical cemetery photos, as well as going over the solstice cemetery walk that Mayor McClure does. So it'll be an intriguing evening all about cemeteries.
I appreciate you taking time to
I'll say
share that with the Resurrection Day Historical Society members, because they are very interested in that. And a lot of them attend the cemetery tour, so this really expands the knowledge base. They'll be using that site after you're done.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's a great site, you'll learn a lot. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
This Thursday, right?
This Thursday, yep.
And just to clarify, if more than 4 of us show up, is this a violation of the Open Meetings Act? Do we have to worry about that? Because everyone's going to want to go.
Yeah, I'm going.
If we're not talking in a group,
I
it's
think
okay.
that came up when we looked into the town halls, because we
Right.
were worried about 4 of you showing up, and the advice from the attorney was like, yeah, 4 of you show up to that, like a town hall, it's not an issue, you just can't congregate together.
Right.
Talk in a group.
Yeah.
Right,
So,
make decisions.
don't sit
in
together,
place.
don't, yeah,
Don't sit in a row.
yeah.
We don't know each other. Yeah, well, that'll be really interesting. Any other comments from the commissioners before we adjourn? From the staff? Thanks for all your help with my handouts, getting them out fast.
She needs to get your picture, by the way.
Yeah, you have to have your picture.
I don't wish to have my picture on the internet, so I've already.
All right, you're,
Anything from staff?
No, no comments.
Okay, well then,
What about,
go ahead.
you might have something else to say.
Oh, any more comments from the public?
I have lots of comments, I'm just,
Tell us.
when it's my turn, I'll.
It's your turn.
Go on, I'm following outside city limits. My understanding is I have 5 minutes.
Well, it's a
No.
work session. It's a work session.
so you're,
So you can tell.
just don't keep us here all night.
I think I'll just say from when I have my hearing aids. Okay, I'm sorry I didn't bring it, but I think they have a lot of work to do left on the parking. I say break it up into smaller pieces, and I've said that at the start of the meeting, but seriously, look at the picture that I showed them of 1300 and 1300 4th Avenue. And actually, the Public Works Director showed me that picture. It's not something that I found, it was shown to me by the city, although I've often wondered about it. My curiosity was piqued as I was riding my bicycle along the sidewalk, went to turn that corner, and suddenly was forced out into the street by somebody parked, what I think is somebody parked on the sidewalk, into an oncoming car. And I know that you've made references to you don't want to see people backing over the sidewalk. Maybe that's residential, I read it someplace. But here the people are parking on the sidewalk and making the people walk in the street. And that just can't be allowed. But, can I repeat what you told me?
Sure, I'm not sure what you're gonna say, so I can't really guarantee how accurate or inaccurate it may be, but go ahead.
I couldn't hear what you said. Can you shake your head, please? Yes or no?
Yeah,
Okay. Courtney told me, it's a good question, that it might be more trouble than it's worth. It's not worth somebody's life to have somebody park on the sidewalk in probably one of the busiest intersections in this town. I think the city exposure to liability here is just off the charts, literally off the charts. If someone were to get hurt, you and the city, not you, again, mistake with the pronouns, is gonna face a case they can't win. You're allowing people to park on the sidewalk and making the pedestrians go in the street. We're, I don't know, I could go on forever, and Courtney knows that. But again, I can't emphasize enough that you should make more effort to contact the stakeholders. If you were to tell Mr. Bardison that he couldn't park his rental equipment on the sidewalk anymore, he might have something to say, but right now he doesn't really know. Give him a call, say, hey, we want you to move your equipment off the public right-of-way. It really gets me when people take use of the public right-of-way for profit at the expense of safety. To me, that's greed. And like I said, I don't mean to be mean to anybody, and I appreciate your time, but I gotta go home and listen to the whole meeting again on YouTube. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for coming, appreciate it.
Well, you invited me.
You are invited. Thank you.
And just maybe, do you mind if I?
Go ahead.
But I mean, just a little extra context on that. So the area that Randy is referring to that is of such high concern is the parking in front of Subway, that area there. So if you're familiar with it, you can park up right by the entrance to Subway, but then there's the parking right behind that. And this is, Randy had spoken with me and Doug about whether or not that parking should be there, since there isn't a constructed sidewalk, but the parking is right where pedestrians would continue walking from the sidewalk that's on the corner there on the Harbor Street Creamery. And I'm not sure where Doug is at on that. He hasn't followed up with me on whether a sidewalk is ever to be constructed there or what that may be, but this is something that we can follow up with Tony as well, since that is a leased, city-owned property and leased from the city. So to just see what maybe in the lease agreement there, whether we can get the leasee to move where that parking is currently at. But those are the concerns that Randy has expressed with parking being in the area where pedestrians would typically walk.
Would that picture be worth sending to the commission so we can all see the picture?
Yeah, I can send that to you. It's on Google Maps. So if you go into Google Maps in that area, drop your guy down onto the street view.
So connecting just right across behind all those cars.
Yeah, you see all these cars right here, so that sidewalk ends there, yeah.
And the sidewalk does not wrap around in a U in front of all those shops?
Just need to make the sidewalk. Or some concrete.
Just say, yeah. Okay, you don't need to send that, thank you.
Sounds like a parking enforcement problem.
Yeah, and this is probably the complexity of it, is what's dragging it out. Just various departments are involved, with it being the leased property. You have the harbor there, then you have Public Works with sidewalk development, then you have Parks and Rec with parking enforcement or police. Anyway, so it's just comes back to a lot of the issues that we're facing with the city, and it's just highlighted in this spot
It's pretty stark.
very strong, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a busy, really busy place. Okay, last chance. Going. I call this meeting adjourned actually, our next meeting is October 7th here at 7 p.m. I will now adjourn this meeting at 8:04.
October 14th.
Hold on.
What?
October 14th.
The election
14th,
is the
thank
7th, so we
you.
pushed it back a week.
I'll have to correct my calendar.
So
Yeah, we're squishing in our meeting and work session, right?
Back to back.
Back to back.
Okay.
Yeah, not a doubleheader, but back-to-back weeks,
Right.
yes.
Back to
Right.
back, starting, okay, so October.
I like those.
So let me restate that. Our next meeting is October 14th
And then the
here
work session is
at 7 p.m. 7 p.m.
That's a work session, not a meeting.
That's a regular
Regular
It's a
meeting.
regular
on the
meeting, and then
14th.
the next week is the.
And then the work session, the
Okay.
21st.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. I will now adjourn this meeting at 8:05 PM.